Hello and welcome to Breaking Bread with Rivaj Maharaj, where nothing is off the table. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about the F-35 debacle that is currently going on between Canada and the United States of America. So without further ado, let's get into it. The United States has recently threatened the Canadian government over an F-35 deal that currently exists between the two countries.
Lockheed Martin's $19 billion Canadian contract is collapsing. Not because of technical failures, not because of budget cuts, because United States Ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, stood at Luke Air Force Base in Arizona and told Canada that if they don't buy American fighter jets, the United States will send its own aircraft into Canadian airspace whenever it wants. That threat just destroyed the largest foreign F-35 contract in Lockheed Martin's history.
It is important to note that not only the United States government but also the manufacturer of the F-35s, that is Lockheed Martin, have also issued stern warnings to the Canadian government, stating that a cancellation of the purchase order for the F-35s could put Canadian aerospace contracts related to the F-35 at risk. Now, this is a tightrope walk that the Canadians have to embark on. And the reason is, when the United States sells military equipment like the F-35s or the HIMARS systems, they come with massive strings attached. There's a lot of regulation surrounding the use of these systems, the servicing, the purchasing of parts. Everything is regulated. And we saw that with the Patriot missile system in Ukraine, where the missiles were handed to the Ukrainians, the missile systems, however, they needed to be operated by United States personnel. So these contracts then put heavy pressures on the purchaser. However, in an environment where the purchaser and the seller are friendly countries, I suppose it doesn't make much of a difference. But with the current belligerence coming out of the Trump administration towards adversaries and friends alike, it is putting much strain on this deal between Canada and the United States. And I suspect that's one of the reasons why the Indian government opted out of the proposed F-35 deal that Donald Trump had put forward to them, and that the Indian government had went instead with the purchase of Rafale fighter planes. Now, the other issue is that Donald Trump is quite brash and abrasive regarding the manner in which he deals with the leaders of other countries. And, whilst geopolitics behind closed doors may be a ruthless chess game, and, these negotiations can be absolutely brutal at times, they're always done behind closed doors. Under the Trump administration, they're out in the open for the entire world to see.
Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position.
And this puts enormous pressure on the governments on the receiving end. For instance, when Trump belittles the Canadian government by calling Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney Governor Carney, indicating that Canada is the 51st state of the United States. And whilst this is all done in full view of the public, it sends out a bitter taste. It's unpalatable for the Canadians, and it puts the Prime Minister in a difficult position, because had these comments and remarks been made behind closed doors, there still is leeway to navigate between getting the deal through and managing all the blowback that would come, that could possibly come from these comments if they ever leaked. However, Trump has this affinity to put everything out there in the open, leaving very little room for these leaders to navigate. And to be honest, no country wants to be belittled by any other country out in the open on the world stage. Now, coming back to the Canadian F-35 deal, Canada had opted to purchase 88 F-35s from the United States, of which 16 were ordered and fully paid for. However, the remaining 72 could be cancelled without any penalties or without any conditions attached. And this has angered the Americans, because I assume that the Canadians have indicated that they do not want to move ahead with this deal on the remaining 72. Now, Mark Carney has also made some remarks at Davos concerning Donald Trump, and Mark Carney has also made a trip to Beijing, signaling Canada's interest to strengthen ties with the Asian giant. Needless to say, Donald Trump was not pleased with these moves. You find that the F-35 deal is now front and center on the debate stage amongst the Canadian public. And whilst they're not in favor of this deal going ahead, they're also quite hesitant about their government cozying up to the Chinese. Because let's not forget, there has been speculation that the Chinese government were involved in tampering with Canadian elections, as well as the fact that the Chinese government had detained 2 Canadian citizens, namely the 2 Michaels. Trump has also warned Canada regarding trade with China and said that he would slap 100% tariffs on Canadian goods entering the United States. Canada would serve as a conduit for Chinese goods to move into the United States. Things are heating up between the 2 North American neighbors. We will follow this closely. Thank you for joining us on this episode, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Please like, share, and subscribe, as it helps us with the algorithm and it helps our channel to grow.